Hey guys, Esvon82 back with a brand new video in my brand new comic book room, and I am so happy to be back. Today's video, I wanted to talk about a book that I read the other day, and it really touched my heart. It really grabbed me, it pulled me in. It's Ice Cream Man issue 32. It's the newest issue of Ice Cream Man. In this issue, a man is fighting to get his life back. He's dealing with addiction. Addiction is something that I have battled with my whole life. I'm fortunate enough to say that I have about 2.5 years of clean time today, and but it's still something that I still deal with. It's a really big issue, and I promised myself when I did this channel that I would do some recovery related videos. So what I was going to do is go through this book and go through the daily experiences of this man and talk about how I can relate to this and talk about my experiences with it. So should be a cool video. Please stick around. Guys, glad you're back. What I'm going to do is I'm basically going to read through Ice Cream Man issue 32, and I'm going to put it up here on the screen for you to see as I go through it. So, I'm also going to relate. I'm going to tell you how my experiences relate and compare and contrast to this man's. His name is Doug Metzger. He's an addict. He is fighting for his life. He's trying to save his family. He has a wife and daughter whom he loves and wants to do better. And I can totally relate. On his first day at Cassandra Rehab Center, I admit with humility that I have a problem. It shows him saying, "There's nothing wrong with me," as he climbs out a window. "I'm totally fine. There's nothing wrong with me. There's nothing wrong with me. There's nothing wrong with me." And as the staff tackles him to the ground. My first day in rehab, I just wanted to go in and lay down. Honestly, I knew it was going to be the last time I used, so I went in pretty high. I tested positive for like, I don't know, 6 or 7 different things, including fentanyl, which is scary. And I just wanted to lay in bed. I did attend group my first night, though, which they said is a rare thing. I guess people want to sleep for a long time when they first go in. I was just at the point where I wanted to get better and start working on it right away. Day 2, and I'm feeling a lot better, just way more positive about the whole recovery experience in general. And it says this, but as it says it shows him attempting to take his own life. Really sad. Suicide attempt in room 32. Get the scissors, and they cut him down. Where did he get the rope? One of the staff says to the other, and the other staff member says, "We're going to have to take the drawstring out of his sweatpants." And that's something that they do. They do take, they don't tend to let you have a lot of things in rehab, but I can definitely see them taking stuff like that away if someone was suicidal. And there are people do get suicidal. I was out there trying to kill myself. I was just doing it in different ways. I was doing it with drugs, and unfortunately almost succeeded. Day 3 is kind of a blur on account of what I guess you'd call withdrawal symptoms. I need a drink, man. I need a line. Something to take the edge off. I'm going to go crazy if I can't experience some kind of chemical euphoria before the day is through. I'm going to, and then he throws up into the toilet. And I can totally relate. Coming off opiates is a fucking nightmare. Same for day 4, actually. Blah. Christ. Okay, I think I'm done. Blah. Note, my bile has turned a bright blue, which I'm willing to bet is bad, clinically speaking. Christ. Us addicts did damage to our bodies over the years. I never experienced blue bile, but I experienced all sorts of other damage to my body that you guys can't see, but I feel sometimes, and I know it's there. And as I get older, it's probably things that I'm going to have to deal with, unfortunately. A lot of broken bones in my case, broken chest, fractured sternum, broke collarbone, broke hand, wrist, you name it, I've broke it. And it's all just me being a careless addict. And that's not even talking about the overdose times, which, we'll get into. On day 5, they give me some medicine to combat the withdrawals. And they gave me medicine called Suboxone to help with your opiate withdrawals. But you have to be, they have to let you go into withdrawals for so long first. They can't give it to you too soon, or it can make things worse for you. Kind of hard to explain. But in his case, it was called Nurenze. And let me tell you, it's fucking awful. Stuff makes your mouth drier than Sauvignon Blanc, which I'm assuming is a type of wine, alcohol. Plus, all night, this weird guy in the corner of the ceiling yammers nonsense at my face. And it shows this weird creature saying, "This is the second step. Give yourself over to me. I am God, King Jesus, Shiva the Devourer, Yahweh Jones, the blazing burning bush, Ganesha Jr. Sr., the thing made of other things, and your little Doug Metzger, a speck of dirt caught on the underside of someone's foot." And then Doug thinks, I think he might be right about that last part. And I can relate. I can definitely relate. On day 6, he attends his first group meeting. Everyone in the room looks like a cigarette smoked down right down to the butt. A circle of ghastly, ghostly faces. A lady named Susan track marks day 18 at the Cassandra. That's the name of the rehab facility. For those counting. Stands up and tells us a sweet story. "My name's Susan, and I'm an addict. I've been thinking lately about my friend Karen. She's dead now. But before that, me and her boyfriend Jim would score dope from wherever we could and shoot up at their little house on Greenwood. And this time, well, they had this cat. His name was Bob. And I don't know where my mind was. I was floating outside of my eyes, full of heroin. Everything that felt good, real good, and really nice. So Bob starts rubbing up on my leg, how cats do, purring and whatnot. And I reached down to pet his little neck. Cats love that, you know. But I guess I wasn't in full control of my hand because of the drugs. And I held Bob's neck for too long, with too much pressure. And suddenly I looked down and he's not breathing. I had choked the poor thing to death. I adore animals, but I killed that sweet kitty because I was high on another planet. Jim and Karen didn't even notice, like a goddamn fairy tale. And I never harmed anyone. I always harmed myself. But seeing Susan here reminds me of meth-induced psychosis, which is a real thing. Amphetamines will literally make you crazy. And I've seen it firsthand many times. I've actually been there myself. And even though that wasn't my DOC drug of choice, I can admit that I experimented with a little bit of everything. And so, 1 week in and it's family visitation day, which is, if you're on good behavior that first weekend, you do okay. Every now and then they'll make you wait till the next weekend to get fully settled in and adjusted. But if you're doing really well, most of the time they'll let you have visitation that first weekend. And on his visitation, he's talking about when he was a kid, his daughter Jenny's age. It said, "Are you eating? You look gaunt, Doug." And he's saying, "I used to catch my dad sitting in the den in that lazy boy he loved. And he'd be crying. I didn't know it then, but the guy had severe clinical depression, like the worst kind you can have. The chemicals in his brain simply would not allow him to be happy." And in my case, I was putting so many chemicals, like I was suffering from depression, but it was due to the chemicals that I was putting in my brain. Once I got to where I became somewhat sober again, it's amazing how the depression began to cease a little bit. And today I don't really have that much trouble. I feel like I get the normal amount of sad nowadays. I get sad when I need to be, but I don't walk around depressed anymore. So it's definitely awesome. He says, "I'm fine, Mary. Jenny, I'm sorry you have to see me like this. I'm sorry, sweetie. I love you." It fucked me up seeing my old man like that. So when Jenny was born, I made a promise to myself that I'd never let my kids see me cry. Not a single fucking tear. So much for promises, huh? And it shows him saying to his daughter, "I'm all messed up. I'm so sorry." And she says, "It's okay, Daddy." I didn't want my son to come see me when I was in treatment. I was really trying to focus on myself and getting better for him. And it was just best that he wasn't brought around. And he actually just found out for the first time at 13 that I had been to jail the other day a couple of times. And he never knew, fortunately. I've got a great mom who was there and stepped up and stepped in when I wasn't able to. And I'm very fortunate for that. Moving on my 8th day, I go ahead and make some lists. And making lists, if you're working the 12 steps, like I'm sure you guys have heard of before, Whether you're an addict or not, I'm sure you've heard of the 12 steps. Part of these steps are taking inventory, um, making a list of those that you've harmed and trying to make it better if possible. Just different lists. If you're really working, you take I think 4 steps, taking an inventory on yourself. But it's a big part of the program if you're really a part of the program. And one of his lists says ways you fuck yourself up: inhalation, insufflation, digestion, pills and liquor, injection only once, and I was scared as shit. Thankfully, that's something that I never got into, was using needles. But I mean, hey, people do. People you've disappointed: Mary, his wife; Jenny, his daughter; his parents; himself; everyone who was counting on you. And I can totally relate to that. Messages you want to get out to your people: I love you, I'm sorry, please help me, and thank you. And that's something that I want to say to anybody that stuck with me when I was going through it. I love you, I always did. I'm sorry for the pain that I may have put you through, and thank you. Thank you for sticking it out. And it's hard to talk about even to this day, but thank you. Reasons to get better: Jenny. And I wanted to get better for myself, but I wanted to get better so that I'm a person that if my kids need me one day, I'm going to be there and I'll be a good person to come to. You know what I mean? Like, and I always want to be there for them. When you're going to start getting better, now, later today, tomorrow, very soon. And it does. You take it one day at a time, and it slowly does get better. You don't get there overnight, so you can't expect to get better overnight. Your favorite people from the group. And, going in there, you think you're not going to form your attachments. I'm staying to myself. I'm concentrating on the program. They're your family when you're in there. You grow very tight with certain people. I left there with some brothers. I left there with some family. There's some people that I still talk to this day that I'm very close to. On day 9, Shadowy Dave shows up in my doorway. I guess you could call his posture beckoning in the darkness or some such. What's that in your hand, man? He gives me a glimpse of the goods, and he's got drugs in his hand. Whoa, where the fuck did you get that? But Dave doesn't answer. Dude just slinks down the hall in the exact way you might imagine a person made of shadows would slink down the hall. I get my feet out in front of me to stand up and follow, but they won't budge. The fuck? Something is keeping them paralyzed, locked in place. Goddamn pins and needles. This kind of made me think of when I was in a detox unit when I first got in there. One of my very first roommates in there, I started off with 2 other roommates, and you slowly work your way. One other roommate, then you get a room by yourself. Or it just depends on the rehab, I'm sure. But the way it worked in there, that's how it was at the time. And one of my first roommates suffered from sleep paralysis. And that's kind of, it was like Freddy Krueger was getting them in their dreams is the best way to explain it. It was creepy. And but I got used to it, though. And we got to where if we could see that he was struggling, we would run over and wake him up. And but that's what that reminds me of. On day 10, I speak the real truth into the mirror. You're going to use again. It's only a matter of time. There's no program in the world that can cure you. You've got a rotten little heart. The ticks are all off. When your daughter draws pictures of you, you look the saddest man alive. You are the saddest man alive, just like your dad. There's something deeply, profoundly wrong with you. You have a big problem, buddy boy. And I can definitely relate. Day 11, it's back to the group. The time I sit amongst them, the zombies and burnouts and never-wills at Cassandra Rehab. We all listen as Billy Barnacles tells us about his childhood. Another feel-good detox fable. My daddy used to tie me up to the post outside like I was some kind of goat. Would leave me out there while he got drunk with his buddies. Rain or shine, it didn't matter, he'd say. Get on your leash, Billy Goat. So, of course, I wound up just like him. I started using the second I was old enough to have a little cash in my pocket. And now my face looks like this because of all the bad stuff I've done to my body over the years. I don't want to look like this man. And he starts to cry. And, like, even just reading that upsets me because I watch this. It happens. I'm lucky enough to where my scars of addiction don't show. But some people that does, and it's really upsetting. And I really hate it for them. I really do. On day 12, I score a meeting with the facility therapist. He seems nice, though. I wanted to check in on how you're doing, Doug. How goes construction on your invisible wall? My what? The last step here at Cassandra. It's the most important one. We found it's a pretty useful metaphor. The idea is to build a wall around your head, the sides of your head, completely invisible, so that bad messages from out there, the hunger for substances, the pain of the past, etc., are hidden from your immediate consideration. We all look over eventually. It's only human. But the sooner you start placing the bricks, the sooner you start getting better, the sooner you can start abiding right now. It's a metaphor, but it could also be the one thing that saves your life. Does that make sense? And that is definitely something that they do teach you in rehab. You have to put up a wall in certain ways. You have to let down a wall in other ways. You have to play the tape through, have the ability to look ahead much beyond the initial high and feel good down the road to what it would ultimately lead you to. Just a lot of different mechanisms to deal with it. I myself personally play the tape through, I think, way ahead to where it's going to lead, and how it outweighs the little bit of good that might be for, a brief period of time in the beginning. On day 13, I stand in the sun and try to feel the warm hand of God on my cheek. And for a second, I think maybe I do, but the hand, it's calloused, rough, and connected to a mouth that speaks with a weird lisp. Shiva the Devourer, Yahweh Jones, the thing made of other things, Johnny Walker Red, one ice cube, a fresh batch of cocaine, run through a triple solvent wash, stripped of byproducts and amphetamines. Being fucked up, that's my higher power. And they teach you in rehab, you need a higher power, whether it be God or they tell you can use something so simple as a doorknob for your higher power. Yeah, it's hard to say, but I had a day like this where I actually had multiple days where I would just go outside. They'll let you go outside hourly for the people who smoke cigarettes, because that's basically all you have left is cigarettes and coffee at that point. So they let you have coffee in the morning, and they let you go out for cigarette breaks or fresh air, sunshine, whatever. And that's one of the things that I would do when I went outside is I do recall just looking up in the sky and just feeling the sunshine on my face and just to feel something. And that's definitely a thing that I relate to. 2 weeks in and it's family visitation again. But this time's a little different. Where's your mother? He says to his daughter, Jenny. She said she was staying in the car. Oh, all right. Well, how you doing, kiddo? I'm okay. I drew a picture. It's you, all better after recovery. No more drugs or alcohol or anything. I read on the internet that AA only works like 5 to 10% of the time. Most people who graduate are back in rehab in less than a month. But what if you're in that 5 to 10%? That's better than zero, right? That's just simple math. Hey, I look pretty happy in this one, he said. It's what we all want for you, Daddy. You plus happy equals good. Simple. And I love that, because even though I would not have wanted my kids to visit me in rehab, it's a beautiful moment. And actually, I want to show you guys something. And this is something that I look at that gives me strength. And my son drew that for me. And that's me and him. And we look happy. And sorry guys, I get emotional when I'm talking about my kids and addiction and stuff, because it's just that real to me. But it's real, y'all. It's real. On day 15, the ghost of my dead mother hovers around my head and berates me for hours. You were soft as a child, so sensitive. Indecisive too. First you want to be a musician, and then a writer, and then a teacher, and then a writer again. Your father and I almost went broke making sure you had a good life. And what kind of thanks did we get? A measly phone call, barely once a month. Speaking of Daddy Dearest, you're just like him when it comes to booze and pills and powder. A spitting fucking image, in fact. Poor Jenny and Mary, they don't deserve all you put them through. Look up Deadbeat in Webster's, and I bet there's a picture of your hairy face next to it. You didn't even cry at my funeral. I mean, what the fuck, Doug? And he says, I cried a lot. Well, I sure didn't see it. That's because you were in a casket, Ma. And you can see he's kind of battling with things in his head, basically. Ghosts from the past, the ghost of his mother in his head. Your mind has a crazy way of playing tricks on you, especially when you're vulnerable like that. Day 16 is Susan Trackmark's big graduation. And this is something you do. Like every weekend group, you lose somebody and they graduate. And it's a super happy thing. And you pass a coin around, you give them encouragement, you wish them the best, and hope that you never see them again except for maybe on good terms. We all stand in front of the Cassandra to wish her well on her journey out there into the big wild world of prescription bottles and lotto numbers and 24-hour liquor stores. Bye, Billy. Goodbye, Mr. Shadows. Bye, I forget your name. Bye, Dougie. A 90 to 95% chance she's right back here with us in less than a month. How depressing is that? Godspeed, Susan. Hope your invisible wall is high enough. And those statistics do check out. Sadly, that it's not a lot of people make it. And when I was in rehab, they tell you, look around. Some of these people that are sitting in this group with you will not be alive. And I can't remember the length of time, but basically they won't make it. A certain amount of people in the circle won't make it. And let me personally, and I swear on all things that I love, that for damn sure is true. If they are not lying to you, I shit you not, there are, 3 people that I can think of right off the top of my head that were in the same circle as me when they told me that they're dead. They're dead right this second. And one of them was one of my best friends. So it's definitely true. On day 17, me and Billy Barnacles sit in the garden and talk for hours. At least I think it's hours. Time moves kind of weird over here at the Cassandra Home for the Dead. It's his mind playing tricks on him again. It's getting everything back to normal, and it takes a long time. When was it for you? Billy asks. When was what? When did you know deep down in your gut that you were an addict? Oh, years ago, me, Jenny, and Mary had just had this wonderful picture perfect. A walk in the park, ice cream cones, belly laughs all the way home. I was so happy. We get back to the house, and my first thought is, but what if I could be happier? So I snuck into the bathroom and did 2 giant Russell Blow. A perfect day, and it still wasn't good enough for me. Damn, wish I could have had a day like that, Billy says. It's true. It's really sad. I've had a few damn near perfect days in my life that, everybody, I was probably as happy as I could have been, and it wasn't enough. Like, it just wasn't enough. It's really a sad thing. On day 18, Shadowy Dave shows up at my door again, doing this whole beckoning in the darkness thing. He's me, of course. That was always obvious. I do a line of his, my Coke, and feel better than I felt in almost 3 weeks, so he relapses. We finish the bag, a full gram, quicker than the time it takes to recite the Pledge of Allegiance, with liberty and justice for all. God fucking damn it. And that's actually a way that a lot of people die, is going back out and relapsing, but thinking that you can still do the same amount that you did when you were out on the street, like returning to the street and doing that same amount. And it ends up they overdose because they can't handle the same amount that they were doing after taking the break. And it gets a lot of people. The next day I get chewed out by the brass. Drugs are strictly prohibited on facility grounds, Mr. Metzger. Where did you even get the coke? This is a remote location, shadowing me. I beg your pardon? I don't know, man. I never know. Well, needless to say, if this happens again, you'll be asked to leave. Your wall, Doug. I suggest you get to building it. And how do you get drugs into rehab facilities? They were coming in when I was in there. The little rec yard, they let you go out and witness drugs being dropped over that wall. And they tell you, they try to keep you away from the fence for that reason. There's so many people out there. They can't keep track of everybody at once. And I do know of meth coming in for sure over the rec wall when I was there. And also on visitation day. You'd be amazed how shit comes in on visitation day. But that definitely happened a few times. And and if you're wondering, like right here, how the staff knew that he used, because I thought about that at first. They can drug test you at any time, and it seemed like I got drug tested every couple of days or something like that. But you are subject to a drug test anytime, after visitations, after anything, especially if you have to leave for any reason, anything like that. You are subject to a breathalyzer and a drug test. I decide to spend the following day in bed alone, but an old pal winds up making an impromptu appearance. You're never going to get better. I know. I'll always be here. I know. The rest of your sorry little life. I know. For all eternity, Dougie boy. I know. And that to me, as I read further along, I feel like that the monster that it shows up here represents addiction as a whole. 3 weeks, you know what that means. I told Jenny not to come, probably for the best, he says. Listen, Mary, I'm trying to get better, but it's hard. I don't know why I turned out this way. Why I can't just be happy with all the wonderful things in my life. Sometimes I feel like I'm not even me, you know? Like I'm just this representation of me, totally separate from the real thing. You're real, Doug. I'm real. Jenny's real, and you can get better. But you need to get better for you. It's got to come from inside you. What do they say at those meetings? 1 day at a time. The math's pretty simple. And the math is pretty simple. 1 day at a time. 1 hour at a time. Sometimes 1 minute at a time. And if any of you guys ever need me, I'm always here. Day 22. I try reading. When I was in college, I could rip through a whole novel in a day. But as I got older, my attention span was diced to shreds. I can barely squeeze in 2 chapters before bed now. At the foot of the mountain, through the narrow lanes made by rows of ramshackle village huts, the etymologist walks alongside his guide, a large stack of money weighing down his pocket. I sit there in the Cassandra garden and flip through pages for 5 hours straight. No phones, no TVs, or happy hour 2 for ones to distract me. The book's not even all that great, but I don't care. I'm just totally in it. Right there next to this sorry schmuck trying to find an impossible word. I finish the last page just as the sun begins to set. The white-clad man on the mountaintop calls his giant spider, who makes a meal of the poison etymologist. Maybe I'll renew my library card when I get out of here. Day 23. Billy Barnacles is graduating from the program. Here we are again, the hopeless inmates of Cassandra Revolving Door, saying goodbye to one of our own. Bye, Doug. Bye, Billy. Hey, I got a question for you. What's your last name, man? Prince. Billy Prince. Royalty. Good luck out there, Billy Prince. The odds aren't on my side. But I got a wall around my head, Billy says, right? Invisible bricks, high as the sky. It's a strange thing to think, but I hope I never see him again. And that's what I thought when a lot of people have, I hope I never see him again. Unless it's just for a good reason. And unfortunately, a few of the people that I was in there with, they didn't make it. And a few of them, it took a couple more times. They relapsed and had to go back a few times. And it happens. It happens. You don't necessarily get it right the first time. Most people don't. On my 24th day, I attend group per faculty requirements. And I don't know why, but I finally decided to chat a little. My name's Doug. I'm an addict. Would you like to share a story, Doug? Sure. Why not? I had this amazing day once with my wife and daughter. The kind of stuff you see in movies. But I couldn't recognize how amazing it was because I didn't have my walls up. I could only see out there into that gaping maw of shit that drives us all nuts. So I got high and spoiled the memory forever. It was perfect, but now it's got this big shadowy blotch attached to it. I'd give almost anything to relive that day and try again. And yeah, I can for sure relate to that. I definitely would love to have some of those memories and I would love to have it all to do over again. I feel like I could do a much better job. Day 25, shadowy me, Dave, whatever is at the back door. I can't do it, man. I need to stop, at least for a little, as shadowy Dave is at the door with a handful of drugs. I'm serious. I'm building a house around my mind, and you're not invited inside. You're not even there, man. You're not real. Just a shadow. With 3 days left of my residency, I try one more time to feel the warm hand of God on my cheek. That hand, it's softer than I remember. It presses its name into my brain. A public park on a sunny day, Jenny drawing pictures, a good sturdy chair in which to sit and read a book. Funny stuff, sad stuff, all the stuff. The way my wife still loves me, despite everything. Patience, the name of God is patience, for others, for yourself, whatever you can manage. I really think that's a beautiful set of panels there, a beautiful page. The penultimate day, one last group session for Doug Metzger, who's been sober for a little over a week. My name is Susan, and I got a problem. And it shows Susan is back from earlier in the comic. Sadly, she has returned to the facility to try again. I tried to stay away from dope out there, but I couldn't. I couldn't do it. Know this, Susan. You're beautiful to me. You can kill 1,000 cats and you'd still be an angel in my eyes. I thought maybe I'd be better, said Susan. I believe that you can get better no matter how many times you have to come back here. I will never forget you. Thank you for sharing, Susan. Thank you for sharing, Doug said. The last day, graduation. Looking at all of us not getting better together. You got this, Susie. Good luck out there, Doug. Thanks, Doc. Hey, at least there's a place for our kind. Who could have imagined that? The walls around our heads are tall, invisible. We do our best not to look over the top. Hey, bud. Where to? The ice cream man says. But sometimes you do just take a peek. Home. Hopefully I don't. I guess we'll see how the math plays out. And I personally hope that Doug never ventures down that path. I really thought this was a beautiful story. It was really touching. And I could 100% relate to this. Ice Cream Man, issue 32. My favorite issue of the series so far. And I wanted to share it with you guys today in my brand new room. I recently hit 300 subscribers. Also wanted to thank you guys so much for that. I really appreciate it. You have no idea how much that means to me. It's a small milestone, but it's big to me. And until next time, please like, please subscribe, and I'll see you guys later.